Hello, everyone, and welcome to BodyBags. I'll be your reviewer for today. I'm Lonnie from Tats. And as you already know, this week we're doing a theme week, and the theme is movies starring Vincent Price, Peter Cushing, or Christopher Lee. And the one that I decided to go with is from the Mill Creek Hammer Films 20 film set, which this is really a good set. If you don't have this, I highly recommend picking it up. It's a few bucks, but you get 20 quality movies. And the picture quality on these are really good. I mean, they did a really good job of restoring these, so this is a really nice set. So, anyway, enough of that. But the movie that I wanted to talk about is from 1960, and the movie is The Two Faces of Dr. Jekyll. And this movie, to me, I found to be really kind of intriguing. I thought it was pretty interesting, which is why I wanted to discuss it. Now, we all know, like back in the 50s and 60s, that Hammer decided to start doing their version of classic horror stories. They did their version of Dracula, Frankenstein, Wolfman, Mummy, so on. And the one thing I'm kind of really sad about is like they never really did their version of The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, which is why I love Tim Burton's movie Sleepy Hollow with Johnny Depp, Christina Ricci, because if you listen to the interviews and the commentary on there, Tim Burton said, in so many words, he said, like Sleepy Hollow was like him doing, like if Hammer was going to do The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, but throw in some Mario Bava, a nice little splash of Mario Bava in there for good measure. But that was kind of his idea. What if this would be like if Hammer did Sleepy Hollow? Anyway, I'm getting off track. But so they were doing their versions of classic horror stories, and of course they got Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. And so in 1960 they made The Two Faces of Dr. Jekyll, and it stars Paul Massie, Don Addams. Don Addams you would remember from movies like Vault of Horror and stuff. Paul Massie, he's a little bit harder. I know he's one of those guys, like when you watch him in the movie, you're like, I know I've seen this dude in something else before. I'm not really sure what, but I know I've seen this guy in other movies. And then, of course, the late, great Christopher Lee. And the reason I just found this movie, like, pretty fascinating in terms of, the thing is like, you would think, you put Christopher Lee in this movie, you would think Christopher Lee would be cast as the bad guy, or as Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Because, I mean, that was kind of the thing. It seemed like, usually a lot of these movies, Christopher Lee was always, like they cast him for Dracula. They casted him for the Frankenstein monster. They casted him for the Mummy. So in a way, you're kind of, it's kind of surprising that they didn't cast him to play Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. In this one, Paul Massie plays Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. And, it's pretty kind of close to, they definitely take liberties with the Robert Louis Stevenson story, which, I found interesting when I read that, Robert Louis Stevenson actually got the idea from reading about Jack the Ripper. I thought that was an interesting idea. But anyway, so Paul Massie plays Dr. Jekyll. He's, doing his experiments, with, the duality of man and things like this. And, everybody's got that nice civilized side that they show to the world, but then they got that really evil side that they keep hidden, and he's like, I want to do, the story. Like, I want to do these, I want to bring out the real person, the real animal side of people, let people see people for who they really are, you know what I mean? And so he's doing his experiments, and his wife, Kitty, played by Dawn Addams, at first she comes off as a very loving, very devoted wife, kind of the wife any man would want, and stuff. But then we come to find out, well, Dr. Jekyll, Henry Jekyll, he has this friend named Paul, and Paul is played by Christopher Lee. And Paul he's, for lack of a better word, his character is kind of a loser in a way. He's kind of the guy who's always gambling, always drinking, always needing money. He's always coming to Henry bumming money off of him all the time. And, at first Kitty is like, oh, stop giving this guy money. It's like, yeah, he's leeching off you, and stop letting him do this to you. And, he's always taking advantage of you, quit letting him do this to you and stuff like that. And he's like, you don't understand. He's my friend. We've been friends for years and all this other kind of stuff and everything. And she's like, okay, fine, it's your money, but I think it's a stupid idea that you keep, bailing this guy out every time he gets into financial trouble, stuff like this. We've seen situations like this in real life. So, at first, Kitty comes off as like the perfect wife until we realize that Kitty is actually having an affair with Paul. And that she's actually in love with him, and she loves that he's always, coming and begging for money and all this kind of stuff. And so it's kind of interesting to see Christopher Lee. That's one of the things I found fascinating about this movie. Usually Christopher Lee is, most of the time, he's playing the villain, or, he's playing kind of like something of a detective character or a doctor or something like that. In this movie, he's basically just kind of a guy who's just drifting through life. He's, no ambition, no plans. He's just kind of always just living in the moment. He loves his women. He loves his booze. He loves gambling, all this other kind of stuff. And it's interesting, to see, Christopher Lee play that kind of a different part, because, we always associate Christopher Lee with playing certain characters, But, I mean, Christopher Lee is fantastic in this movie. But, one has to wonder, like, wouldn't he have been better if he played Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde? But, so anyway, moving on with the story. Of course, Dr. Jekyll, at one point, he starts trying to win back Kitty's affection. And he's starting to suspect that she's, having an affair. And so, maybe not with Paul, but he's starting to realize, yeah, something's going on. So he starts wanting her to spend more time with him and stuff like that. And she's like, oh, no, I can't. I got things to do. I got my obligations and stuff like this. And so he finally, he injects his formula and he turns into Mr. Hyde. One quick note, the thing I think is funny. One thing you're going to notice go back and think of like the different movies of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde that you've seen, if you saw the one with Frederick March or you saw the one with Spencer Tracy, one thing that was always funny that's funny about this movie in particular. Okay, now you notice how like in the other versions of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, Dr. Jekyll, he's always, very nicely combed, short hair, whatever, clean shaven, very presentable looking, wearing a nice suit, whatever, very presentable looking, right? And then when he transforms into Mr. Hyde, he ends up, he gets like more facial hair. He looks more animal-like, more feral-like, and everything else. He's got like a big bushy beard, and he's got more of a kind of a, that kind of a look to him, and things like this. And, the more animal side of him comes out. The thing I think is funny about this movie takes the approach of doing it in the opposite direction. When you first see Dr. Jekyll, you see Paul Massie, he has on this incredibly fake looking, you can tell it's like just like a fake beard that they glued onto his face. He's got these really big, fake looking bushy eyebrows and stuff. Like when he's Dr. Jekyll, he looks more animal-like. He looks more feral-like and everything else. He looks like almost caveman-like, which I think is funny. And then when he becomes Mr. Hyde, now he's presentable looking. He's very clean shaven and everything else, eyebrows are normal, all this, just very handsome, very, clean shaven young man. Do they show him? I think that's him right there, if you can see it. I think that's supposed to be him. But anyway, so I find that funny. That, like, here's a guy who looks like it when he's his normal civilized self, he looks like an animal, and then when he turns into the animal version, he's very civilized looking. I just thought that was a funny twist that they did with this. And so, like, kind of to the story of Dr. Jekyll, he doesn't really go after a barmaid and terrorize her and stuff like he did in, the other movies. But he does, he goes out and he's going to this place where, there's supposed to be all this sin and debauchery and stuff like that. And then he finds, Kitty and Paul there. And so he goes and he introduces himself as a friend of Henry's and stuff. Well, he starts to become friends with Paul, and the two of them start getting into, I guess, shenanigans, you could say, and stuff. And at the same time, he's like trying to put the moves on Kitty, but Kitty's not having it and stuff like this. And then, he's realizing that, whether he's Dr. Jekyll or Mr. Hyde, his wife really wants nothing to do with him. Excuse me. And so eventually, he's realizing that she's in love with Paul and that she would rather be with him. And basically, the only reason she married Henry was for his money. and that she only wanted to be with him because, you know, he could financially support her. That's why she wanted to be with him. And so, you know, he starts to plot his revenge against, you know, the two of them. And, you know, I think that would probably be about the best place to leave it. And, of course, you know, like in traditional fashion, you have, you know, Dr. Jekyll, you know, like they're fighting each other. Like, who's going to be the dominant personality? Is it going to be Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde? Who's going to be the dominant personality? And I think I'll just kind of leave it at that. I don't want to give away too much. But it's not the best Hammer movie, but it's an intriguing film. I find it interesting. You know, it has some fascinating aspects of it. And I would definitely say, yeah, check it out. I'm not going to sit here and guarantee you it's slow paced at times. It's plotting in some moments, but it is an interesting movie. It's interesting to see Christopher Lee play this kind of a different character. I mean, obviously, you know, when you're an actor, you want to try to show people you can play anything. You know, you want to play every kind of role. You know, big role, small role, good guy, bad guy, romantic guy, funny guy. You know, everything. You want to show people you can do it all. And I thought it was just interesting to see Christopher Lee play this kind of a role where he's not the villain. You know, he's, you know, just kind of this playboy, just kind of, you know, living off of this other guy's money and everything else, you know, just kind of always doing his thing, not a care in the world kind of a guy and stuff like that. I just thought it was interesting to see that kind of Christopher Lee play that kind of a character, but it's definitely an entertaining movie. I'm just not going to sit here and tell you it's the best Hammer movie. It's not. Like I said, it's kind of slow at times. It kind of plods along at some points, but it's definitely an interesting watch. Paul Massie does do a good job as Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. You know, of course, like typical Hammer fashion, you know, it's like you get the gorgeous, beautiful, busty-looking women like you're used to seeing in Hammer movies and things like this. But it is a well-done film, and, you know, some solid performances and stuff. As a matter of fact, I think if you look close, I didn't check. This is my own fault for not doing it. I didn't check, but I think there is a point where, if I'm right, when Dr. Jekyll goes, or Mr. Hyde goes into this, you know, place where everybody's, you know, sinning and all this kind of stuff, these two girls are like trying to plan a con on him. And the guy that they're with, if I'm not wrong, I believe that's Oliver Reed. So I think Oliver Reed actually has a cameo in this. So look sharp for that. It's my own fault. I should have checked on that before I did the review, but I'm pretty certain that was Oliver Reed, you know, in like a small cameo back in his time when he was with Hammer. But anyway, but yeah, overall, check out The Two Faces of Dr. Jekyll. Get this set. This set's really good. You got a lot of really good, you know, you can pause that if you want and see all the movies you get on there. So I would definitely say, yeah, pick this set up. You know, if you're a Hammer movie fan, I am. And you get an assortment of Hammer films on here. So, yeah, definitely check it out. So, that's it. I do recommend it. Like I said, not the best Hammer movie, but I still recommend it. So, that's it. So, if anybody took the time to watch this, I thank you for doing it. I appreciate you for doing it. I honestly hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave it a like. If you haven't already, go and subscribe to the BodyBags channel. We have a different reviewer, one for every day of the week. I'm the Saturday reviewer. Everybody's doing a great job. We got great guys on the show. Yeah, we have more fun videos. We got theme weeks and all other kinds of good stuff coming. So that's it, everybody. Check us out. So take care, everybody. Have a good night, and I'll see you later.